For the past 4 years, I've worked as a video editor at a women's apparel company. As you might imagine, most of the employees are female, and I'm in fact the only guy in my department. This leads to a lot of jokes and harmless teasing from both friends and coworkers, but the truth is, I don't really mind it at all. I hardly even notice. There is, however, one downside. The bathroom situation. But I'm getting slightly ahead of myself. A few months ago, due to lack of space, my employer moved my entire department. There are about 12 of us, 11 girls and me, the only guy, from its main headquarters to a smaller building across the street. It was a perfect situation. We desperately needed the extra space and the building was available. Unfortunately, it wasn't in great shape. No one had leased the building for quite a while and it was obvious. Ceiling tiles were cracked or collapsing. The carpets had peeled up, revealing bare concrete underneath, and the bathrooms were in god-awful shape. Honestly, the space looked more like a home for squatters than a comfortable workspace. But my employer put a lot of money into remodeling, and by the end, it was unrecognizable. What an amazing transformation! We each had individual working spaces complete with potted plants, ergonomic chairs, and open spaces to decorate however we wished. We were given a full kitchen complete with a coffee maker, a juicer, and top-of-the-line water purifier. And the girls were given an extravagant bathroom complete with futons and makeup mirrors. You know, the kind with the bulbs around the frame. But there was one cost-cutting measure the company implemented, and they did it in the one place where it would affect the least amount of employees. The men's room. The men's room was a single toilet, sink, and plain mirror. That was fine, seeing as I would be the only one using it, aside from the occasional office visitor. But the problem was that the door had a loose lock. Sometimes, when I exited the bathroom, the weighted door would shut on its own and randomly engage its mechanism, locking me out until someone from maintenance could come over and jimmy the door open. It didn't happen that often, but it was often enough to be a huge pain. To make matters worse, sometimes maintenance was bombarded with other matters, leaving me without a bathroom for hours or even days. Luckily, my female coworkers were good-natured enough to let me use the ladies' room if I were ever in the unfortunate situation of having to go so badly while locked out of the men's room. They said they didn't mind. If anything, they found it amusing. On the handful of times it happened, I would play it off lightheartedly, though I really hated it. And it wasn't just because of my male ego, it wasn't due to indignity or embarrassment. It was because using the ladies' room just felt weird. Like, weird in a creepy way that I really can't explain. As if when I was in there, I wasn't alone. I vividly remember the first time I ever had to resort to using it. It was on one of the days where the men's room lock had jammed that morning, and I had gone nearly a whole day without another bathroom break. An hour before my shift ended, I felt like my bladder was about to burst. My legs were shaking, my teeth were biting the inside of my cheeks, and my eyes were beginning to water. I realized at that point that my options were either to use the ladies' room or find a bush outside. I opted to use the ladies' room, though it was actually a tough decision. My female coworkers promised they would guard the door to make sure no one went in while I used the restroom. They checked to make sure it was empty before I shamefully entered. "Hello?" I said. No response. My first thought was how nice it looked. Like I said before, futons and a lit mirror. I was also surprised that there were no urinals, only stalls. I know that sounds completely crazy, but when you've gone your whole life seeing urinals on the walls of public restrooms, you do a double take when you realize they aren't there. I entered a stall, locked it, though I was sure no one else would be coming in, and I undid my fly. I stood there in heaven as I emptied my bladder, hearing nothing but the sound of relief. The sound continued for what felt like a minute straight before I heard something else. It was the sound of light footsteps. Then my heart stopped. It was the sound of a nearby stall opening. Someone else was in the bathroom with me. Either they had come in unbeknownst to myself and my coworkers, or they had been there all along and hadn't answered when I called out. After the immediate shock, my feeling was that of utter embarrassment. Here I was, standing in the ladies' room, unleashing the floodgates, as it were, and some poor girl had to hear it. Some girl I worked with, who was probably just as embarrassed as I was. Damn, this was awkward. Somehow, without even thinking, I let out a feeble, sorry. I again heard the squeak of a bathroom stall, followed by a light thud. I finished my business and sighed deeply as I exited the stall. I saw my beet red face in the light of the mirror as I quickly washed my hands and exited the restroom. My coworkers swore that no one had entered the ladies' room while I was inside, and they assured me it had been empty when I went in. I wasn't sure, but I chalked it up to me hearing things, perhaps water running through the pipes in the hall, and had forgotten about the whole experience shortly thereafter. I only had to ever resort to using the ladies' room once or twice in the months that followed, and each time was a miserable experience. Each time I was on edge, always paranoid, always feeling as though I was invading someone's space. Once, while washing my hands in the sink, I looked up at the mirror and swore I saw movement in the corner of my eye. A quick motion near one of the stall doors, like someone quickly ducking out of sight. I couldn't pinpoint where the motion had come from exactly, but I swore at the moment I saw it, I heard that unmistakable sound. No wonder women go to the restroom together, I thought. It must help block out all the weird sounds. All in all, using the ladies' room was an, at best, awkward experience. But it wasn't too terrible. Until today. Whew. I seriously just got a chill up my spine thinking about it. Today was the last day that I will ever use the ladies' room. And I'll make sure none of my coworkers ever use it again either, if I can help it. It had been a normal, if not hectic, day. So much to do. A late lunch, which I worked most of my way through. I didn't eat that much as my stomach had been feeling funny all day. I had a million upcoming deadlines to think about as I left the men's restroom around noonish. It shut, it latched, I sighed, turned around, checked the handle, and wasn't surprised to learn that I had just locked myself out, again. I sent an email to maintenance and went on with the rest of my day, not thinking much about it. I soon realized there was no way I'd make it home on time, especially when a last-minute project popped up an hour before I was supposed to leave. I felt a slight worry in my system. First, if I got home late, I might not be able to find a parking spot on my block. Second, I was dealing with quite a bit of indigestion and was feeling quite uncomfortable. But I worked as quickly as I could, hoping I could get out in time. Of course, the days you want to get home early are the days you end up working the latest. Sure enough, by 6 p.m. the last girl had left the office and I wasn't nearly finished with my project. By 7:30, my stomach was killing me. It began to loudly rumble, and it wasn't an "I'm hungry" rumble, but rather an "I'm upset and bloated and you're about to have a bad experience" kind of rumble. Sparing you too many details, let's just say I needed to use the restroom and use it badly. I looked at how much longer it would take my computer to finish processing the video project, about 45 minutes. That plus the half-hour drive home meant there was no way I could wait. I went to the men's room and tried to open it. Oh, right. It was still locked and maintenance had been too busy to fix it. I looked at the ladies' room and felt a twinge of nervousness for some weird reason, but shook it off and decided to head on in. I entered the ladies' room and quickly rushed to a stall, unbuckling my belt as I walked. Again, I'll try sparing you the details, but within 20 seconds of sitting down, I felt a twinge of horror. I began to hear footsteps. I listened closely, wondering if I was again imagining things. No, it was unmistakable. I was definitely hearing a walking sound. Wait, no, not walking. A crawling sound, maybe. My heart skipped a beat and my lungs turned to iron as I realized where the sound was coming from. It was coming from above me, directly above me. I looked up and the sound disappeared. For a moment, I heard nothing but the heavy ache of my own racing heartbeat. Then it was at that moment I realized I wasn't hearing a stall opening. It was the sound of a ceiling tile lifting. As the tile directly above me slid open, ever so slightly, I know I saw it. My eyes widened and my mouth dropped open as I stared at something that was staring back at me. Inside the ceiling, partially hidden in the shadow, I saw an eye, looking around, staring right at me for a single instant. Then, as quickly as it was there, it was gone. The last thing I remember hearing was the light thud of a ceiling tile dropping into place. What happened next is a complete blur. I don't remember standing or even pulling my pants up. I don't remember grabbing my keys nor exiting the building. I just remember the pounding in my chest, the pounding so hard that my ribs ached as I drove home, replaying the events in my head. I wondered how the hell I was going to tell my all but one female department what I saw. It was a man's face, but it was not entirely human.